Hello and welcome. It is the 20th day of August 2019. My name is Derek. This is the Money Charts channel. Like always, all bets, trades of alike within each his own risk and their own reward. Not going to go over much on Bitcoin because it just continues to hang in the middle of this range between here above 9,000 and a little bit below 14 on the Bitcoin chart. So let's move on to gold. And it has spent the last few days resisting among the area of the 1522 handle in at 1503. It really hasn't had any real pullbacks, with it just barely going below the 1500 barrier. As we can see this low in about 1493, but getting above the 18 average on this time frame earlier in the morning and still holding in there. Really not much more else to say about gold either, other than it's still holding amongst the trend. There's still no signs how strong of resistance this is going to be, given the lack there of an act of it not falling down. So, therefore, the act of it not falling down. But coming up towards this level, as we can see, just on the more like a 3 hour term time frame, you come up to this level once, pull back, come up to it again, pull back. It'll be test number 3 on this time frame on any move, and it's most certainly a major established support, barely above 1490. We're silver hanging in there at 17, and it's in a definite noticeable range of about 16 and 4/5 or 1680, upwards to a range between 1730 and 17 and a half. And on its daily chart, still hanging in there at the 18 average, making higher highs and higher lows, but nothing too explosive, nothing too large to talk about at this stage either. So let's move on to altcoins. I got some football picks as well too. I'm going to talk about soon as well. I'm not going to really go. I don't plan on going over them, but just a trend that I just figured out what the record is. Still a good trend. That's for much later in the season. I'll go over that in a couple of minutes. But for now, we're going to talk about metal, which is up like 25% over the last 24 hours. And since 8 o'clock last night, it's up 12.7%. As this, it was down a lot, of course. Not much really more to talk about. Massive volume, to say the least, as it's starting to go higher. Whether definitely something I think you'd want to consider if you want to look at that further. It is definitely noticeable amongst it. You had this key high volume at this top. You had some decent volume here before it managed to make this failed breakout high. But of course, this is just like all the other pretty much all the other coins on the crypto space, been getting its ass kicked to major degrees here, as we can see that in late 2017, this was 17,000 Satoshi. Now it's 355. So going down to 1700 would be a 10x move. 170 would be a 100x move. So it's down 50 times. And it was close to 170, so it was down about 80 or so times from the Binance high at one point. Let's move on over to Ethereum Classic, which is my largest gainer of all the coins that I hold in the last, since 8 o'clock last night, up over 10%. And not much for myself in the trading mechanism. Last night I'm looking around, yeah, nothing to really to trade. And then I wake up this morning and, yeah, a couple things are close, but not much to trade. And then, of course, I was oblivious, I guess, to this. Maybe it was because Ethereum Classic was down to 550, but I don't know. I don't know why I didn't notice that first thing in the morning. But I did get about 560 or so on it, I think. It would have been this rally break here. I would have sold some ETC up here. And I did so against that of theta. And looking at the ratio on the single hour, before on the way down, I made a trade around the 44 handle, which was it was going down, so I sold Theta to acquire some ETC. And I was even thinking yesterday, do I just buy a bunch of ETC just because it's something that is low value compared to other things? I probably should be buying some altcoins here and there a bit 'cause I haven't done so in a while, and I didn't, which is fine. But I able to flip that ratio back over again here around the 49 number. And as this was going on, I noticed that the Go chain was making a spectacular move. And what had happened, let me just move this over to the 4 minute term time frame. As this was going on, and I noticed it was, hey, it was at 115 in here. Thankfully, this is a fast ending coin. I was able to make two of my four. I got four ratios I trade against Go chain. I was able to make two of them, and I could have completed all four, albeit at not as good of a rate or a percentage change move compared to the two that I did trade, as I was able to acquire both Litecoin and Qtum on this move, as I was able to sell at 117. So I have this to let me know. I got a sell order of what little bit of for the amount of Go chain that I sold over. I knew I was going to be doing it for those two ratios, so I moved over a little more than I needed. So that little more has got a sell order at 126. Of course, it's not making it there right now. And I got a little indicator here, just in case it comes back to where it came from. I can flip those two that I traded. So what I didn't trade was that against Theta against GoChain. The last I traded at this was at 10.5. So it did manage to get up to about 11.5, and I suppose I might have traded it if I was up at 5 o'clock to do it here. And then it went to 960, and it was close, but I was definitely looking for a better number. On the Sky Go, my last trade 71 and 3/4. And I was close to doing it here at this low bottom. It was about almost a 10% move. I got better on the other two, which is Litecoin and Qtum, but I did pass on this. And if GoChain breaks that like 118 level or so, then it'll go lower here. Then I will complete the trade. And next up, Litecoin Go. Before my last trade was 71.43, which probably was, I don't remember. Actually, I could see the date, but I was able to get around 6,000, 60, a little over 6,000 on the ratio flip here. So that most certainly is a very good move, close to about 16, 17% of a trade from high minus low divided by low, which is how I recalculate that. And of course, since the Go chain has been falling, this has been rallying from the 118, even 117 high, because that's where I technically sold my Go chain at. And the Qtum Theta, my last trade before was 234, and I was able to get 200 pretty much even. Which we're just being able to trade, even though it never really hit there. Let me see on the 1 minute, did it hit the 200 number? Not really, but I was able to get a good buy flip based on the Qtum buy that I got. But either way, getting that number as it is, it was a little over like 200.8. Either way. Now it's at 213. And as far as how it looks on the daily chart, I mean, I was back in here when I was selling at like 308, 317. At first, I'm like, I'm actually technically down on the flip, but since it's went down, I got an average sell of my Qtum that I'm down. It's like 260, 270 something of the net play, so it's not bad. Now, as far as an NFL selection is concerned, two of them actually. Let's go over that. Kind of off topic, but I suppose you could risk cryptocurrencies or fiat dollars or whichever, or just do whatever else with this information. And I was just going over some statistics. 0 and 5, 3 and 10 record, 6 and 17, 8 and 23, 8 and 30, 10 and 37, and 11 and 44. That's how successful this team is in this situation. It usually has two times a year, and it does twice this year. That is to go against the Buffalo Bills in a game after the week after they play the Miami Dolphins. It is Buffalo's 0-5 against the spread in their last five against it, and 3-10 and 11-44. They cover 20% of the time on the long term over the last 20, 30 years, 30 years almost now. That after they play their division rival Miami Dolphins. Close, close, close division rivals. And I'm sarcastic, but they're in the same division. They have been for years, and they're like opposite ends of, uh, well, one borders, one's the most southernest spot in America, Miami, and one borders close to Toronto, Buffalo. 1998, that's the last time Buffalo covered versus New England after Miami. New England, I mean, it doesn't happen this year. They're not playing New England. Buffalo is like 0-6 or 0-7 in their last seven situations. They played the Patriots after they played the Dolphins the week before. In week 8, Philadelphia is in Buffalo. And in week 12, Denver is in Buffalo. See you play the road teams on those weeks because Buffalo plays Miami the week before. And I'll put the theta chart up now, but I can remember where I was in, I think it was 2001. And I was looking at, I think it was over the internet. But originally it was over through print and books, interestingly enough. It's just when I only had 10 years worth of data from like 91 to '01 via print. I was able to get earlier years before then. But what I was just looking for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of really algorithms, parameters, however you want to call it. If a particular situation occurs, what would happen? And a lot of times I'd even be thinking, and I found out that, oh my goodness, Buffalo sucks after Miami. And it's basically held on since then. I got a few that I've can barely remember, some that I've totally forgotten, and even got some systems that I forgot that I know I've got documented here on YouTube from like 2010 or 11. But I would just go through plays over and over. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, sometimes if you can find parameters in here, okay, over a situation, because as long as these 8 particular items or 3 or 4, whatever particular items match up, then maybe there's amazing up or down moves that are so strong that it's something you'd have to take seriously. Just something I think of interest. Now, back then in 2001, I had a midnight's job where I would work 40 hours a week from Sunday night at 11 p.m. to 7 in the morning, Sunday night to Thursday night. And it was really boring work overall. Or another way of putting it, I had like maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours of real work to do in an 8-hour shift. So I needed six plus hours of stuff to do to fill the other time. And that was some of the stuff that I did. So a lot of it would be things, okay, well, if a team of, say, if a big underdog were to win a game outright, I want to find situations where do they look really bad the week after. When they're playing non-conference, how do teams do off of bye weeks and things about that nature. And you're able to get a few different situations. But most times when I checked, I wouldn't find anything. But I don't know what I would look for to see. Okay, what can state, like what can we see in advance that can tell us before these big red and green candles happen, where we can get a good sample size to determine, okay, it's a decent play. Now, as far as state is concerned, last night, interesting night to say the least, because actually the 1 minute time frame should show it the best. Yeah, this just all of a sudden, just big 2 minutes. Price action goes from 11.90 down to 11.24. Nothing too largely spectacular. That's like a little over 60 basis points. Works out to about a half a percent or so. I mean, 5%, half of a 10%. 0.5%, not even close. But I was thinking half of 10, like 5%. So it's like meh. Because a 10% decline would be like 200 basis points from here. And of course, it's not even that. It's like 4% maybe. But in one period, some most likely this was some large selling. But overall, this market has. Let me just go to current screen or a different time frame where we are now, and we'll go with the 8 hour. But overall, just looking for just something of curiosity. What could it signify? I mean, oftentimes if some someone in the back, if you will, has been thinking for a while to buy, and they're just going to buy big. Sometimes there's no way of knowing which period they're going to buy because, well, just the obvious part of that. But I remember looking at things before within Bitcoin where I would put it in different situations and classes. When I would look at multiple time frames and find out there were a few good situations, but generally speaking, you need to be in good secular bull market conditions, which we're not in right now as far as the markets are concerned. But a lot of these altcoins have been going down. This one is still no exception. 5,000, now we're at 11, so it's lost over four times its value from its high. And on the 3 day time frame, since Binance had this thing listed steadily, it's down over three times. And against the dollar, since theta has been listed on here, it's lost more than half its value, as it was over a quarter. Now it's at 12 cents, but it's basically just been staying in the same price point for quite some time, ever since May of this year. So it's been 8 minus 5 is 3. 3+ months of just hanging in there. Yeah, we had this little brief dip below 8 cents here. We've had some price actions above 15 at times, but it's generally been around a dozen pennies for Theta for quite some time. And it's going to stay that way until it doesn't, which means it'll break the 9 cent barrier, resist it, have a whatever leg lower, we go down to 5 or more. Lower, or 5 or lower, when I say more. Or the polar opposite, we get by this 50 to like even 20 cent resistance barrier, and get up to 30 cents. And you know see how high these can go. $1, $2, literally. 2, 3, $4, that's one decent sized move. Okay. Not like I haven't seen a crypto have a 20, 25x move in a month before, or less than a month against the dollar before. And I mean I've seen it happen many times before, and much larger rates of ascent than 20, 30x gains. Case in point, Neo. This is a chart that, or this is a price action, and here we can see it's around 12 cents back in this triple day 18 hours. Let's go back to what it looked like on the daily back then, and back then it was called ant shares. And I unfortunately will not be able to do so. I'm hoping I can even upload this video because well, earlier today my internet shut out for like, well, this morning for like 15 minutes, 10 minutes. It's doing it now. So I'm not able to load the data, but as we can see, 12 cents going up to like $10 and then 40 and then over 100. Yeah, moves like that can easily occur of big size, large proportions. And nearly 10 minutes later, it is back. So I figured I might as well pause this video. I'm hoping that it's fully back anyway because it hasn't loaded this. I just noticed that it reloaded the screen, and of course it's just now reloading this data. So as I was going on with the fact that this thing here was like 12 cents consolidating for quite some time in here from October of 2016 all the way to March of 2017. And then, I had to shoot up to 20, the 22 cents is previous level of resistance. Then when it broke that level, we went up to 40, then 50, and then a buck and a half. And then it broke a buck and a half, and it went all the way up to 16. Oh, and then it broke that 15 or so area, goes up to about 60. And then it breaks that, and it grinds its way up to about 180. This is just wild movements when price action does things like this. So thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye bye.